Welcome back to Outside Office Hours. Today's video takes you deep into Havasupai Canyon, the turquoise pools, the steep climbs, the mistakes we made so you don't have to. I'll walk you through what we did, what surprised us, and the gear and timing tips that mattered most. Havasupai is a remote canyon oasis inside the Grand Canyon near the village of Supai. The vivid turquoise pools and dramatic waterfalls like Havasu, Mooney, and Beaver Falls draw visitors from all over the world, and the canyon's cultural and natural significance comes from a long history of the Havasupai people living and caring for this place. We will cover the night before the hike and where we camped, the hike in and key trail details, how we found a campsite, and the mistakes we made there, visiting Havasu Falls, Hidden Falls, and Mooney Falls, the hike out, and a short wrap-up of the most important takeaways and gear you should not forget. We car camped on BLM land the night before the hike. This was convenient because you must pick up your permit by 6 p.m. the night before your reservation, and being close to the trailhead the night before gives you the best shot at an early start. We found the spot using the Dirt app and ended up being the only people in the camping area for that night. The all-wheel drive on our Subaru Forester came in handy. Some of the approaches are rough, and higher clearance or all-wheel drive makes the difference between getting there or turning around. Bring a headlamp and set an alarm. You'll want to be up before dawn. We arrived at the trailhead around 8 a.m. The hike in felt easier than expected because the temperature was comfortable that day, and most of the descent to the canyon is downhill. The round trip from the trailhead to Supai and the campground is commonly described as roughly 10 miles one way from the commonly used trailhead. Trail length can vary depending on which parking lot or access point you use, so plan for a full day effort and know your distance beforehand. In hot months, start much earlier to beat the heat and increase your chances at a good campsite. This was an issue for us because we didn't get to the campground nearly early enough.
All right, so we arrived at our campsite here in Havasupai. And we got here around 2 o'clock, and that was actually probably a bit late. We had a pretty hard time finding a campsite when we first arrived. We were pretty beat from hiking in the trail with our heavy packs, and most of the spots were taken. Also, the water was pretty high, so it was challenging to cross the creek in the different areas to get to the other campsites. But eventually we found what we think is frankly one of the best sites here. We were persistent. I put my bag and Conde's bag down and stayed with him, and she went and did some scouting ahead to find a good site so we didn't have to carry everything. But I would say a main thing to keep in mind is that you probably want to get to the campground before noon, possibly even earlier. The way it works is a lot of people are rotating in and out of the campground, so you want to be here as early as possible so that the people that are leaving, you can get their sites as soon as they go. The later you get here, the less your selection is going to be.
Here are some tips on finding a campsite. Leave as early as possible in the morning so you can get to the campground early and claim a great site. We struggled to find a site because many were already taken by the time we arrived, and the creek water level was high, which made crossing to the north side sites difficult. Later, we learned there are various hand-built bridges and a north side trail with good sites. We didn't know that on arrival and wish we had. Staff presence is very limited in the camping area. We didn't see people who were obviously working there to ask questions. It's wise to plan as if you won't have a helpful staff on hand. Ultimately, we found a great campsite right along the creek, but it took time and patience. On our first full day, we went to Havasu Falls. Havasu Falls is the most iconic cascade in the canyon. Water plunges over a cliff into a deep blue-green pool framed by red canyon walls, creating that postcard turquoise color caused by minerals in the water and the unique lighting in the canyon. The area around Havasu Falls can get crowded during peak season, so early morning or later in the day gives better light for photos and a slightly quieter experience. Respect the area. It's culturally significant to the Havasupai people and environmentally sensitive. Next, we explored Hidden Falls. Hidden Falls is a longer trek from the main campground and feels more tucked away. The approach involves a little bit of a scramble and one river wade. There's also a spot where a rope tied to the cliff helps you cross a tricky portion. It's not technical, but you should be prepared to get wet and use some upper body strength on the rope-assisted section. Lots of people jump off cliffs near hidden and other fall pools. We didn't jump. It looks sketchy and risky. If you're tempted to jump, check water depth and local conditions carefully first. Next, we checked out Mooney Falls. Mooney Falls is breathtaking, but is an adventure to reach. It's very close to the campground, but getting down to the base is steep and treacherous. There are chains and ladders and sections where you literally clip in with your hands, and the mist from the falls makes the rock and chains slippery. Bring sturdy gloves for the chains. I forgot at first and later saw a big pile of spare gloves people had left for others, but don't count on that being the case. This descent is dangerous if you're ill-prepared, so take it slowly, make sure footwear has traction, and be honest about your comfort level on exposed sections. I'm glad I did it once, but it felt more sketchy than I expected, and I'm not sure I would repeat it. Finally, it was time for the hike out. The hike out was tougher than the hike in because you're gaining several thousand feet of elevation as you return to the rim. Expect a longer, slower grind, and your legs will feel it. Start very early, carry extra water, and ration electrolytes. Wearing sun protection, a hat, and layers is important because temperatures can vary a lot between the canyon bottom and the rim. Plan conservative pacing and take breaks in shade when you can. If you're feeling taxed, slow your pace. Pushing hard on the ascent is where most hikers get into trouble. So what are some of the most important things to know when you're hiking this area? First, be careful. Services are extremely limited. If you get hurt or sick, it's not a short walk to help, so treat risks conservatively. Pick up your permit by 6 p.m. the night before your reservation. Plan to be in the area the evening before. Leave as early as possible for both the hike in and the hike out. Earlier arrival increases your chance at a better campsite and cooler hiking conditions. Bring water shoes. Creek crossings, wading, and slippery rock around the falls make water shoes almost essential. Trying to navigate the falls or cross the creek barefoot or in regular hiking shoes is uncomfortable and risky. Pack gloves for Mooney Falls, sturdy traction footwear, sun protection, and a first aid kit. And finally, expect limited staff and minimal services. Assume you are self-sufficient. Here's a quick gear checklist, and if you want a full look at the gear we took on this hike, you can click the card above. First, permit printed or accessible and pick up by 6 p.m. the night before. An all-wheel drive or high-clearance vehicle for certain BLM access roads. Water shoes for pool access, creek crossings, and slippery rocks. Gloves for the chains at Mooney Falls. Lots of water and electrolytes for the hike in and the hike out. A headlamp for early starts and basic first aid kit. Layers and sun protection. Havasupai is one of those places that rewards planning and humility. The colors, the pools, and the canyon feel otherworldly, and the mix of adventure and reverence for a tribal homeland gives the whole trip extra meaning. We made timing and information mistakes that cost us stress and time, but those lessons are now part of the trip we'll always remember. If you go, pack smart, start early, and move respectfully. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with questions or your Havasupai experiences. We also posted a short gear video showing all the gear that we took for this trip. Thanks again for watching Outside Office Hours, and we'll see you on the trail.